What if you had $150 to build a gaming PC, but you don't want to buy crappy AliExpress parts? How about we build one out of used parts from local people? Let me show you the final $150 build.
Here it is, the final configuration of the 150 build challenge. And this computer has been working and done for a long time now, but the cables were a mess. I didn't have fans hooked up. The side panel's been off for its entire time. And I was just kind of frustrated with this case, and I really didn't want to work on it anymore. I've just been using it as my personal computer. So, but it's done. So I just wanted to wrap up that challenge, which was, 2 months ago now. And basically 150 for everything. So we had the case, which you saw in the other video. We had the power supply, Thermaltake 430 watt. That's my SSD there. 140 millimeter intake fan. This GPU has changed several times. It was a 970 at first, then it was an RX570, which was somewhat disabled. It's had a 1070 in it for the past couple of weeks, but that's out of budget. And then just the other day, I picked up this RX570 4GB for $40, and that perfectly matches the budget. And then we have the custom OEM fan you saw earlier. So it's just a Dell fan with a Be Quiet fan on top of it. We have Be Quiet exit fan 92, I believe. And then we added, after the other video, a 140 top exit fan. And if you saw in the other video, we had to modify this because this part was closed off for some reason. We removed all the hard drive cages. I was supposed to put a panel here to block the air, but I never got around to it. It doesn't really get hot anyway. And then I think you're supposed to put a 120 here, but I put a 140. And it's fairly quiet. And the cabling it's not really great because you can't run the cables around the back because this is an OEM HP case. There's no back entrance. I mean, you can take the side panel off, but there's no space. It just goes directly to the panel. So this is all coming apart anyway, so I don't really need to make it all pretty. And stupid me, I removed all the hard drive cages, and then I had nowhere to put the hard drive for the SSD. So I just stuck it on the power supply, which I hate doing that. I like them to be secure. But yeah, what can you do? And then the motherboard is a Dell XPS 4th gen i7. And I used this because it was $20 with the CPU and memory and everything. And then I found out later, you can't see it here, but under there's actually an M SATA slot. So there's another SSD in there that I got for free. So I have my SATA, and then I have another 128 in that slot. And I should have changed that SATA cable to a black one. I forgot to do that. But it works pretty well for 150. And then you have a little GPU sag here because this GPU is very heavy. But watch this. Chopstick mod. Stick that in there. Boom, no more sag. Looks solid.
Oh my
Free.
God.
Paint it black. Put some RGB on it. I was originally supposed to put RGB strip here so that it would shine through the vent on the side. See this vent? So all the air comes in from the side. The front panel is blank. So I'll show you the pictures of the front. That's why I like this case, because the front is blank, there's nothing on the front, and then there's airflow out of the top, and then the side panel is also blank. So it's a very minimalist case, but I hate this case because it's impossible to build in it. I spent hours and hours and hours. I could have just bought a new case and made something else. But the reason why this setup is not staying is because I want to revive my Optiplex, which had a dead motherboard, my original build, my first one. And so we're gonna put this XPS motherboard in that with this fan, this power supply. That's where all these, couple of these parts came from, was that Dell, because the motherboard died. And then just keep it like that. So we will revive the Optiplex, and if you add everything up, it just barely comes to 150. I counted 20 for the fans because that's how much you would normally spend for used fans. Yes, these are expensive fans, but this is not what you would typically use. Typical build would just have a generic 120, 92. You probably would use the stock cooler for that budget. So it is 150, even though it seems like it's not. And here's the side panel. It's kind of hard to get on with that power supply, so let's see if it's... The original setup was HP Envy, a 12th gen. See how this works. It's really hard to get this panel on with this power supply. 1 second. Okay, now it's on. Yeah, it's because the power supply comes so close to where you mount it, it's a struggle to get the panel on, and then it has this button in the back. You just push it, push the back button, and then it just comes right off like that. So pretty good deal. 150 for everything. I think that's fair. And then now I have some performance numbers here we'll put up. See how quiet it is. Can't hear anything. This GPU has a 0 mode, and then the fans are very quiet. Oh, I also added this header. Problem with using a Dell motherboard is there's only 2 spots for the fan, so you need a splitter. So in order for me to run that many fans, I have a little fan hub right there. It's hard to see. I found it in one of the cases that I picked up, and it works perfectly. It's too bad this will be disassembled, because I probably could sell this for $250. But yeah, let's check out the games and see how it works. So here's Farmark, benchmark, and got 79 FPS, which is basically entry level compared to a GTX 1060, which is actually not too bad for a 4 gigabyte card. And I noticed something about the AMD processor or partner cards. They just won't overclock. This is my 3rd Sapphire, and I can't overclock it. If I overclock it, it just gets slower. Whereas NVIDIA, you can overclock it and gain a lot of points. I'm not sure what that's all about, but yeah, decent performance for the price.
And here we have Fortnite, 1080p low. I actually just removed the 1070 and put in the RX570, and this is the same settings. But you'll see the FPS has dropped from 100, over 100 to about 80, and there's this little stutter. And so it still is fine, but it's that stutter that you feel it. So let's see if we can play with this guy. Yep, not today, my friend. Okay. So what I did was I changed it to 60 FPS cap, and then it came out better. You'll see it right here. So now it's 60 FPS. Now it's super smooth. It's only 60 FPS, but it's a solid 60 FPS. So I think that's where it just has to be. The RX570 only has 4 gigabytes of memory, so you can definitely tell the difference, and you can't overclock it either. But all in all, for 150, very acceptable. This is a very difficult price range. Even when I asked other people to enter a 150 PC, they said that they didn't really want to because you just can't get enough for that price. And I only picked 150 because I had already done the $100 and the $200 challenge. So I wanted to try something in the middle, but this was way harder than I thought it would be. So definitely at least budget $200 for a decent build, or else you're just gonna have to play with really low settings. So that's it. We're done with the challenge, and we're on to the next one. If you can think of another challenge that we can create, let me know, and we'll see you in the next one. This is not over.